I'm in charge of a code review next week. I'm a little worried. I've never run one, and I've been at some where people just kind of get there and start reading the code, and I'm worried it could be a disaster. It's supposed to be very successful, and I was hoping to get some tips from you on how I can make it successful.
Code reviews are tough for kind of a variety of reasons. So help me out. What's your background with code reviews? Have you done them before? What's been your experience?
I've been the guy who showed up to the meeting and started reading the code during the review.
So, but a formal kind of sit-down meeting. There's kind of a gamut of where code reviews go. They go from everything from, I've done the code reviews, I'll call it the ad hoc, where I flash my code in front of you and say, hey, how's this look? And you say, great.
Yeah, my experience has been somebody sends you the code before the meeting, and then they just walk through it line by line. And it's just open for commenting.
Going down the kind of list of ad hoc, you can get more formal, more strict methods, and then kind of this group code review is kind of what you're doing.
Okay.
And beyond that is this, I won't go too much into it today, but this concept of what's called a Fagan inspection or a formal inspection. And then kind of right in here above this is kind of what I like to call a peer review, which doesn't require a meeting, but can still be pretty effective. But let's kind of focus right here on this, on this group code review.
All right. How many people?
So usually I'm going to borrow a few ideas from the formal inspection and kind of tone it down. And I think you probably have obviously the author show up.
Okay. So that'll be the developer for these features. I'm just going to review one developer's code.
Okay.
So I'm going to
have him come in. Maybe the program manager for the area. Usually you want to have at least, I would say, a minimum of like 3 reviewers.
Like including them or besides them?
Well, the developer isn't really reviewing. In fact, I find it better if the person who wrote the code just audits.
Okay.
And you have somebody else present the code. If you don't have enough people, I think it's okay for them to present.
So do you actually have that person walk through, or do you have a moderator?
I like to have a moderator.
Maybe I could get the program manager to be the moderator?
Right.
That might be neat. Okay, so then I'm going to have 3 people in particular invited. I'm not going to invite everybody.
Good. I think that's good. Maybe have a tester and a couple other developers.
Okay.
And you're probably not going to be able to review every single line of code written in your product. You're not going to choose what's going to get reviewed in a setting like this, because you're spending a lot of time and money getting a bunch of people in the room for a meeting. So what you want to make sure is, if you have 5, 6 people in the room, you don't want to make it a waste of 6 hours and man time if it's an hour-long meeting. So the things you can do to make sure the meeting's effective is one is prepare.
Right.
And that means everybody gets a copy of the code, long enough in advance.
And I'll bug them to make sure that they
and they're expected. The idea is they should not come to the meeting with that code, that document still smelling like the printer.
Right.
It should be all marked up and dogged.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make sure that happens.
Another thing you can do is everybody usually goes through and looks for general errors, but you can assign some specific areas for people to look at. Maybe this person's going to look at for security issues. They're going to try and find, do a little bit of ad hoc threat modeling, kind of find out where maybe if buffer overflows could happen, if it's native code, things like that. Maybe this person could focus on performance or whatever the things you think are most important. And the other person may look for algorithms or common libraries.
So you can prepare, assign areas.
Right. Okay. And what's going to happen here is, over time, as you start to determine what's important, you can build a checklist.
Right.
So and checklists are pretty beneficial doing a code review, because then it's, if I just stare at code, what am I looking for? Checklist helps me organize my thinking around that.
But now, when we have issues, do you take the time in the review to resolve them, or do you just make a...
The best thing to do, the moderator's job, this is the moderator's job in the formal inspection as well, is don't have a discussion about the error. If something isn't right, if something needs more thought, make a note of it and move on.
Okay. And then they follow up with that person and these to finish the loop.
At the end, you basically have 2 choices. You can either choose to say that's good enough, he'll make these fixes and we'll check it in and we can do the rest of your peer review, or you can decide that there was enough problems that you need to meet again. So either it's good or it needs a re-review.
All right, that's a good start. I'll let you know how it went.
All right, thanks.